viewers, it's Easter Monday, and there seems to be a 10-mile traffic jam on the Andover bypass, and there can only be one reason for that, really, and that is, of course, it's the British Touring Car Championship race at Thruxton today, and they're forecasting that 20,000 people are going to be there, almost the population of Andover, I suppose, but so we're going to go and investigate. We can't get down the dual carriageway because it's, as I say, it's a 10-mile traffic jam. So here we are, taking the back route into Thruxton, which hopefully only the locals will know about. So here we are. We'll try and we'll pick up with you again in a minute when we get to the circuit. Thruxton has been totally invaded by all these foreigners, I guess that's what we can call them. And there's cars, BMWs all over the place. And we're going to go down here and try and have a chat with a local resident to see what he thinks about motor racing in Thruxton. So let's go and find Mr. Angry from Thruxton. I'm sure there must be one somewhere. There's cars all over the place.
You can't even park outside your own house.
You can't even park outside your own house. There's Mrs. Angry.
How are you going to turn around?
I don't know, but I'm going to go up there. But there seem to be cars everywhere.
It's true, then we come into Kimpton and I remember riding down here on my bicycle many times. And
Kimpton's opening a multi-storey by the looks of things. There's literally cars everywhere.
Another one. Right, here's somebody trying to get through. Oh, there's a whole load of them there. These are the people who come down here and obviously just don't want to pay to get in.
What I can't understand is why people don't park in the car park. It costs no more. It's there's loads of people up there.
Yeah, loads.
There we go. Yes, lots of people. In fact, there's thousands of people here today.
Maybe the car park's full or something.
Maybe the car park's full, Steve. If it is, I'm afraid, Andover viewers, you won't be seeing much of the racing. Well, the car park's looking definitely very full. Obviously a bumper day here for Thruxton, and I should think should be a very, very good day's racing. As I say, we've got the British Touring Car Championship on today, and obviously excited a lot of people. There's a Ford Mondeo's driven by Andy Rouse and Paul Ruddish, who's a New Zealander. So in for some very exciting racing. There's 6 Formula 1 drivers actually driving in the race, so the standard of driving obviously will be very high indeed. But we're now going to try and find somewhere to park, which could be a problem. But I think we might try and park here instead of going in the main gate. The big race has just started, and here we are, just on the perimeter. Just going to try and get a closer view of the action. But keep watching Town TV. We'll bring you all the best sports news. Well, as you've just seen, we're going to be bringing you more from Thruxton later in the show, and the thrilling climax to the touring car race. Very exciting indeed. But before we do that, we're going to let Reg Presley and Colin Andrews take you through the last of their chats together, which is a really, really interesting one on UFOs. And I hope you enjoyed Reg's talk with Colin. And remember, if you've seen any UFOs, give Reg a buzz here at the Chantry Centre on Andover 335556. That's Andover 335556. Call Reg, tell him what you've seen. And don't forget, there's a prize on hand for the first person to spot a corn circle this year. So that's really quite interesting. So ring in for that as well, 335556.
Hi and welcome to the UFO Show. We still have Colin Andrews with us, who is over here from America. And this week I thought we'd talk about the very famous Rosswell crash. This was a UFO that was supposed to have crashed in the desert at New Mexico. Colin, what do you know about this?
Well, prior to 18 months ago, I knew very little other than what had already been published. I was asked as part of my brief for the UN, which you came over to in New York, to investigate, research, and, if possible, deliver whether there was a cohesive message available to us in looking at the crop circle patterning, the markings which it is believed to have had been discovered on materials thought to be extraterrestrial from China and New Mexico. That's which brought me very much into that. And the UN actually were very, very good in helping me to discover where I could have a look at these particular etchings. You'll see on the screen now those very etchings which appeared from Rosswell. They appeared on the metallic structures discovered there by a rancher who was riding his horse across the desert after a very severe thunderstorm the night before, and he discovered material which he had not ever seen before. He didn't recognize it. It was shiny, it was extremely light, and to give you an example, just a foot square of foil of this material dropped onto a table resulted in this laying down as if mercury had been dropped on the table. But it was extremely light. Anyway, it is a detailed and long story, but many people, many members of the public, discovered the actual disc itself, which was about 3 miles further on, before the military arrived on the scene.
I think it was 200 people or something
I believe that's right.
Knew about this crash.
I believe that's right, Reg. It was something in that order. There was an archaeological team which was in the area and came across, so they came over the top of the hill and discovered a disc-shaped object on the ground in pieces, and they also, as they walked closer, came closer to this thing, discovered 3 very short humanoid bodies. 2 of them were deceased and 1 was not. There were other people. There was a person out there, I think, prospecting, also came across it, and all of them, this team of archaeologists and this person, this individual, looked more closely at what they had discovered, and all of them had been suppressed since that time, 1947. I know
there was a cover-up, a big cover-up at that time.
Major cover-up.
They were there at the crash site, and then the army turned up.
That's right.
And tried to shut everything down, really.
Yeah.
But they were too late because it had hit the national media in the States.
That's right.
And then the real...
then the fun began.
Oh,
absolutely.
It hit the fan, didn't it?
It did indeed. The newspaper cutting, which obviously we have, actually discussed the fact that a disc had been found in the desert there, and some of the details were also reported, but within 48 hours a plane load of agents from Washington arrived. They called the press in and showed them that this had been a big mistake, and showed them exactly, in fact, what they say it was, and it was a weather balloon. Now, there's nothing at all, nothing, that supports that. The army remained there for many days. Loads of pieces were removed. the pilot of the aircraft, which took the major component, being the disc, back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the States, has now been located. 2 people in recent times, unfortunately and sadly, dying literally on their deathbeds, have revealed important information. And this one single case, which is now fracturing at the seams and clearly indicates that a major cover-up related to the discovery and recovery of a crashed UFO in Rosswell, New Mexico in 1946 is a sad case for our current world situation. The American government in particular have been dishonest. It has been a simple disinformation campaign because I guess they felt at the time that it was in everybody's interest, because they had no idea what it was they were looking at. It was something from outside of this world, that it wasn't good for the public.
Many people have been subject to threatening ways by the government. In fact, one man who was an American who married an English woman and lived in England has just recently died, and it must have been so powerful to him that he turned round on his deathbed and told his daughter what he knew about the Rosswell crash.
No, this is a time gone by. It's a Victorian stance, it's a Victorian approach to our problems. This is a new period, and we must stamp honesty, truthfulness at all levels, and that begins with our politicians. It clearly is that people are expecting better things. These people, as you rightly say, having carried such a tremendous weight, a secret, a lie, to not only their public, but to their very loved ones. This is not acceptable. We're living in a changing world, which we've seen now at all levels, meteorologically, climatically, politically. Our very psyche, it would seem, has raised our consciousness into this new period, and we must expect better things.
It seems that the governments all over the world want us to, ordinary people, to tread the line that they make for us, and yet in some way they feel that we wouldn't be able to understand the fact that there are beings visiting near, who have visited us. They don't seem to think that we could handle it. If they know about this, how are they handling it?
That's right. Well, I guess it's civil servants primarily that are handling it. The
red tape again creates so many problems.
Sure. Well,
think of the people that have gone to their grave knowing.
That's right.
Or not knowing.
Yeah. But I think the biggest secret related to the UFO in particular was the Rosswell, New Mexico incident. This disc is retained by the United States government, as are the bodies. The surgeon has been located now. The nurse who began to speak in a bar is now deceased. People who are very key to this case have been lost, their lives have been lost in aircraft incidents. It is a very serious situation. Well, you know as well as anybody, Reg, in recent times that I've been involved in discussions with the American intelligence people and government officials there, flying back to the Ministry of Defence in London with them, and just in the last few weeks in New York with Japanese government officials and the Chinese too. There's no doubt in my mind that the world is about to change forever. The governments President Clinton in particular, his administration, are analysing, assessing the very best available information, and the pressure which is now placed in his court, and he is actually a rather special individual with a team of advisors who are very different to any previous administration. We have here a team of people who could change government policy in the United States, which will change the world forever, because the truth related to our very existence will be known. And that is profound because it affects our religious base. It poses the question right out there on the table: who is God? What is God? Where is the line between high nature, high level of nature, and extraterrestrial.
Do you
And
think
that
we're
is
going to?
profound.
Do you think that we're going to know this before the year 2000?
I think the current rate of discussion and consideration with all the best available information, I would say the answer to that is yes. The people themselves demand it. And we've seen what happened in Eastern Europe when the people overnight demanded democracy and truth. And those beggars, as if I may say so, that denied the people in Eastern Europe their very soul, changed overnight.
Yeah.
That's the changes that are going on in the world today, and that's the tip of the iceberg.
I was handed this the other day, which I felt elated by this. Probably in the back of my mind was praying that the man would pick up on something. And sure enough, here it is. We have Steven Spielberg, who is going to actually make a film of the Rosswell crash.
Right.
Purely because now he's been handed a film of the autopsy that was performed on the aliens themselves. And he knew of this film for years but could not get his hands on it. Now he is making a film of the whole event. It's going to be absolutely mind-boggling. And if anything, I think it would help to release the information on this Rosswell crash from the government itself. And maybe they'll even have a hand in it. Or have got a hand in it.
Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence at all. I think most people would consider this to be part of the conditioning process. Information being placed out into the public domain prior to the changes in the policy which I'm referring to. There has to be a very powerful and efficient, effective mechanism placed into the political forum to allow them to deal with the backlash, which could be substantial when the truth related to the UFO is known. And you know that apart from the discussions which we've discussed, that there is also a proposal by the Italian member of the EEC in Brussels, placed already out there. The MOD informed me of that a few weeks ago. You, I think, mentioned this on the programme a short time ago when I faxed you with that, that they are proposing that the French monitor the movement and information on the UFO throughout the EEC, and that they will take the appropriate steps.
So we'll be able to cross all the borders.
Absolutely, all the borders.
To get all the information.
Yep. The Japanese are lined up in a similar fashion. They have a $65 million project underway now, and I'm, as you know, travelling there shortly. And that also is a public information process. This Spielberg film, no doubt, is part of it. It began with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and we're moving in now to showing the public what these little guys look like, and perhaps the intention, some of the thinking behind what they're actually doing here.
Well, it's been a mind-boggling few weeks that you've been here, and we've had loads of information. I do hope that, like we, the ordinary people of the planet, are changing our thoughts. I just hope that the governments of the world can keep up with the way we're all thinking now. Because if they don't, I think they're going to have a lot more problems than they bargained for.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to be stirring it up more than the actual government themselves. Because still...
There's a lot to be positive about.
Yeah,
you know, consciousness is changing. There's some very good things happening. The Berlin Wall falling was perhaps the first major one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Well, thanks very much, Colin, for
Pleasure,
all your
Reg.
help. It was nice to have you over
Pleasure.
here again. And I hear you're coming back in the summer.
In the summer with a team
For a
of
few months.
scientists and doing some good work, I hope.
So we'll hope to catch up with you then.
I shall be there, Reg.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that's all again for this week. Thanks for being with us, and see you soon.
Andover Neighbour Care is a charitable organisation devoted to helping the people of Andover. If you need assistance in such things as fetching a prescription, shopping, relieving a carer, filling in forms, transport, etc., then please give us a call. Andover Neighbour Care also needs volunteers. Now, if you have some time to help the needy of Andover, please give us a call on Andover 33 9899.
Well, welcome back. I think spring seems to be coming to Andover. It's a bit of a wind chill factor, but we're getting there, I think, slowly. Do you remember last week we left Steve Pyne over at the Grosvenor Hotel in Stockbridge? So he's eating and drinking, and I think he's eating some mussels, actually. So we're going to take you back there to Stockbridge and Steve Pyne. Take it away, Steve.
So popular, obviously, not summer dish, really, and
No.
shellfish doesn't really tend to be in the summer.
It tends to have a lot of trout in the summer.
Right, well, obviously being in Stockbridge and by the tests, obviously rather a lot of trout around.
That's right, it's very popular. Very popular. And we serve it whole or in fillets. But
Right.
once the main part of the summer comes, it's mainly whole fish.
And are they all local fish?
Yes, they are.
And wild caught or farm? I mean, do you tend to get some wild caught?
We get both.
Right,
Obviously, we sell so many that we do have
Thanks
to
very
buy
much.
some farm fish.
right,
But they're locally bred in the village,
right.
and they're lovely.
Because they are
Lovely
quite
fish and
spectacular,
very-
some of the fish around here.
That's right.
So looking in the river is unbelievable, the
Yeah.
size of the fish.
And when they're on the plate, that lovely pink flesh, and they're always moist. Delicious.
There's a very lovely dining room here, panellings around. It's very interesting, I'd call them engravings almost on the walls of the horses. What's the history behind those?
That's right, yes. They are actually poker work.
Well, as in hot poker?
Hot poker,
Really?
yeah. And they were done by Tom Cannon's sister.
Tom Cannon being...
Tom Cannon was a jockey and stable owner,
Right.
and who actually owned the hotel at one time.
So he's obviously quite a keen horseman. Were these horses his, or what was the reason behind having horses on the walls?
Yes, they were. They were all owned by him and ridden by him, and they were his winners.
Right.
And each of them is labelled and titled with the various names of the horses. They're all different. And the date and name of the race that he actually won.
So where did
With them.
he race these horses?
At a local race course in those days called Danebury, which is
Right.
on the outskirts of Stockbridge. And the last race that took place there was in 1886.
Right.
So it's been just over 100 years now. But the remains of the old grandstand is still there. And Tom Cannon and all his family were very much a part of that scene.
And was it quite an important race course? I mean, was it some place that was well known, or was it very local, or...?
Oh yes, no, it was the most famous race course in this area, second only to Newmarket in those days.
Really?
And of course there were a lot of trainers who lived in the Stockbridge area, and horse racing featured very much in Stockbridge life in those days. But now, of course, there isn't even a race course in Hampshire. The nearest race course is Salisbury, which is Wiltshire.
Right.
Or the next nearest then is Newbury, which is
Berkshire. So, very, very interesting. So this was obviously probably quite a haunt for the local
That's right.
equestrians.
That's right. And still is in many ways. Tom Cannon had a very, very large family.
Right.
And there's a number of ancestors that are still alive. And one of them, of course, being the most famous, is Lester Piggott, his great-grandfather.
Oh, really?
Sorry,
His
great-grandson.
great-grandson.
Yeah,
Oh, fascinating.
yeah. So the lineage still goes on, and the interest in racing still goes on.
Right.
And a lot of them come to see it.
Mm. Well, so
Very
people actually come here
interesting.
specifically to look at these...
Yeah, at the engravings.
At the engravings.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I suppose what's engraves or etchings I've never really seen sort of poker
Yeah,
work before.
yeah,
It's
that's
interesting.
right. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I'm going to try some of Larry's mussels now. They're going cold here. I'm going to have
Perhaps we all should
little
do
bit of a
that.
taste, because they look absolutely wonderful. Mmm. And they taste wonderful too. Best bit, dip the bread here Obviously all the wine and the fish stock and the parsley. Must have speed my mouthful. Absolutely delicious. Very nice indeed. Blimey, you're not eating your own food? Oh, you are. You had a couple there. Twice. I can see a couple of empty shells there. Very, very good indeed. I think we're going to get Steve, the cameraman, to have one in a minute. He was sitting there grimacing while you're making them, Larry. So definitely encourage him to have one. In a restaurant.
We at WindowWise supply and install a wide range of windows, doors and conservatories to suit every need and pocket. Expertly fitted by our own installers and covered by a 10-year insurance-backed guarantee. WindowWise, Newbury Street, Andover. Telephone 333 350.
Well, as you know, we've been working very closely with Major Kevin Emerson and the Blue Eagles. That's a helicopter display team over at Middle Wallop. Kevin very kindly this week invited us over to see the last flypast of the Scout helicopter. The Scout's been an old warhorse for the Army Air Corps. And so we took the cameras over to film the last formation flight. It's going to be joining the historic flight of the Army Air Corps, so just take this last chance to see the Scout go past.
I'm standing by a Scout with Staff Sergeant Gopal Soki. Gopal, so last flight of the Scout.
Yes.
Sad to see it go?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah? Been flying them for long?
Yes, I have for the last 3 years here at Middle Wallop on the instructional role, and then 658 Squadron, the airborne flight at Netheravon. But like you say, you know, it's a sad day for the Scout to go. Hopefully it gets replaced by another machine which will be equally as good as the Scout.
Do you know what the replacement will be?
For the Scout, not at the moment. I think we got the Lynx and the Gazelle in the regiments, but hopefully we're looking at the new program on the pure anti-tank helicopters, which is still going through. But in the near future we'll surely find out what it is going to be. But at the moment we don't know yet.
So you'll be flying Gazelles and Lynxes for the time being?
Yes, yes, of course.
So they won't be granding you along with the Scout?
No, I've still got a few years to go yet. But hopefully I should stick around to see the new tender come in, which hopefully won't be long. but see what happens.
Okay, Gopal, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, bye now.
Race, John Cleland looks as though he's got something in his sights, because as they go past the front of the commentary box now, the gap from first to second, 1 second exactly. John Cleland definitely on a charge, perhaps his Dunlops are doing rather better than Mr. Tarquini's. Michelins, we will see the leaders approaching you, Ian, at the complex for the last time. Still the Alpha, the closing Cavalier, John Cleland coming closer and closer. There's only now about 6 legs between them. Gabriele Tarquini then, remember they've got this limited amount of tyres that they can use. It must be the tyres going off on the Alpha as John Cleland, who's got all the experience and racing on restricted numbers of the tyres in a British Touring Car Championship race. He's now, what, about 4 legs behind. The Alpha seems to have the extra little bit of power to accelerate out of Seagrave, gaining any ground through that part of the circuit out of Seagrave. I don't think it's gained much there. Now this is where it'll really pay off, possibly the better tyres, possibly on the Cavalier, enabling to close up a little bit. It may well be in 0.6 of a second at the same point of the circuit that it was a second and a half, or a second and a bit last time round. We're watching Gabriele Tarquini. Is he on his way to claim a debut victory in this year's British Touring Car Championship for Alfa Romeo, or is he going to be robbed at the very last corner by a determined Scot, John Cleland? I think it is going to go the way of the Alfa, but we will see. Tarquini braking for the club chicane. John Cleland closing right up on him. There's less than a leg fitted as they come into the chicane, bouncing all over the curves. Tarquini must know that Cleland's right there behind him, but surely Cleland isn't going to quite manage it now as they come out. No, the checkered flag then shows the winner of the first of 21 races in the 1994 Auto Trader RAC British Touring Car Championship by a margin of really not very much at all. Gabriele Tarquini wins for Alfa. John Cleland is second for Vauxhall. Giampiero Simoni is third for Alfa. Joachim Winkelhock is fourth for BMW. Steve Sophie is fifth for BMW. Will Hoyer sixth for Toyota. Alain Menu seventh for Renault. Eighth for Peugeot is Patrick Watts. He will be particularly pleased with that result in his first appearance with the team. As Pyne rightly said, so will David Leslie, who finishes ninth in his first appearance in the Mazda Casado, sixth, and tucking in behind him and finishing in 10th place there was the first of the Nissans. Was it Van der Poel or Keith O'Dore? Right.
Well, here we are in the Ford Hospitality Suite. We've been very kindly invited by Dubs of Andover to come and have a word with a few people, but it's very, very cold out there, so we've taken the chance to dive in quickly. Anyway, I can report to you the race was won by Gabriele Tarquini, the Formula 1 driver. Did very well indeed in the Alfa. And second was John Cleland, really catching up in the Vauxhall, so he was very, very close behind. Unfortunately, the Fords didn't quite make it. Andy Rari's dropped out with a few problems, and Paul Radic, he had a bit of a problem with some of the rear of his car falling off, but never mind, it was very, very good indeed. Good race, loads of people at Thruxton, so back to the studio.
I was second on him.
Right.
Then I was off with a broken leg.
Right.
And Adrian Maguire rode him in the Void National last year. He finished third in that, so he's second and third.
So, only place now to be is first, really.
That's right.
Hey? Right. And you've got every confidence for Saturday?
Well, he's been out of form, to be fair, all season, but to be fair to him, last year he hadn't run very well either. He still went to Aintree and ran a big race. He's one of those horses, you know, that comes alive for Aintree. You know, like Red Rum, you used to have days when you used to have to qualify that to finish in the first four in a chase.
Right.
And
wouldn't even make it.
And Red Rum could hardly finish in the first four. He'd have to struggle to get him qualified.
Right. So then he'd come out.
When he got to wet Aintree, alive he came.
So Certainly. What's the sort of training regime for a horse coming up to the national?
Well,
does it change at all?
Not really. All the hard work's really been done now, you know. I mean, you just get them fit like any other horse, and you run them that gets them fitter, and you just sort of plot your races.
Right.
No, nothing different really. It's not a lot different.
So viewers, hope you'll put your money on Romany King, local horse. Oh, let's come say hello. Say hello to the end of the viewers. I'm even taller than the horse, that makes me feel good for once. Well, you see them all come out. Some very fine-looking beasts indeed. We're going to go up and watch them soon over there in the distance. We'll have a little wander around the ring. So we'll go and watch them, and maybe we can figure out some form for the weekend. What do you reckon, Al?
Well, I don't know. I think Romany King looks pretty good. Looks very happy,
pretty good. Looks very happy. Looks very comfortable.
Yeah.
You gonna put a little wager on everything?
I'm not really a betting man, Steve.
No. Bet your fiver you will.
I bet your fiver Tony will, won't you, Tony?
Yeah, most definitely. He's looking good.
So Toby, how's it going today?
Pretty good. They all worked yesterday. In fact, we took them over to local Jenny Barons at Broughton, because I'm flooded out here practically. And the horses all satisfied me in their work. Romany's in great shape.
Yeah, Richard's very pleased. I've just been talking to him.
We've got to get lucky.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
So how's the weather going to be for the weekend, do you think? I suppose a lot depends.
Terrible weather forecast.
Really?
But funny enough, I don't think that's against Romany King. He's proved in the past that he doesn't mind soft ground.
Yeah.
My worry is stamina. He's a 2.5 mile horse essentially. You know, if the ground were bottomless, it would be stamina sapping, and that's when we might run into trouble.
Yeah. But this is beautiful day today.
We could have this all through to Saturday. We get good ground, but I'm afraid we're not forecasted. It's a terrible forecast.
Okay. Well, absolutely best of luck from all the viewers locally.
Well done.
I'm sure they'll be supporting you. So hope to see you next week.
I wouldn't stop them.
Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks very much, Tim. How'd you go? All right.
He was marvellous.
Yeah?
He's nice and bright and fresh.
Yeah?
Yep. He's not been barking all year, but he was fresh and well there this morning, you know.
Smash him. No, he looks a lot, doesn't he?
Good field. Good field.
Well, best of luck for Saturday anyway.
Yeah, well that cheers me up a bit today, the way he went this morning. You know?
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Definitely nice to see him well just before a race. You know?
Well, just lovely weather, lovely day this morning.
Well, I think that's it. It's probably a bit of a spring horse if it's tricky, you know, and a bit of sunshine and warmer weather just coming right at the right time, you know. Done with it just a week earlier.
What's the forecast for the weekend, you know?
It's sort of changeable up there, but I think we've got quite nice weather down here for the rest of the week, so that'll all help. And the ground he likes to run on and be on a softer side of good, and it looks like being that way, so we've got all that in our favour. So, hopefully by the minute.
Yeah.
Out here.